So generally you want to come to an event like this fully prepared and PowerPointed up and knowing what you're going to say. Sometimes I just like to kind of go off the spirit of things and just be in the moment and let everything do what it's supposed to do. So I want to say just a little bit about myself again in my testimony. The product of coins is phenomenal, okay? There are millions of people right now all over the world that are purchasing these coins every day in the tune of $100 and almost $30 billion a year for pure enjoyment, guys. And have been collecting these assets for thousands of years. Is that a pretty good track record? Okay? So that's not a play on words, that's not hyping our product up to be the next best thing. It's just reality. And when I started to lose quite a bit of income in my traditional businesses just after 2008, I live in the Bay Area, about 20 minutes from San Francisco. And being directly tied to the housing market, I experienced just a phenomenal boom in income throughout the 6-7 years I participated in the real estate boom in the Bay Area. It just exploded, and everybody was making a lot of money. It was just almost like it was just never going to run out, and you have this euphoria. My mother one time was working in the loan industry. She came to me one day, she said, "Adam, this whole bubble's going to burst. It's going to pop, you know?" And I didn't get it, you know. Now we all get it, you know. But we didn't have the foreknowledge to understand why it was going to burst. Now anyone who has actually spent time to actually investigate it kind of gets it. Most people don't. Can I ask you a question? Does anyone in the room, show of hands, know who the Federal Reserve is? Show of hands.
The Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve. So what's that, about a third of the room?
The U.S., right?
Yes, the U.S. Federal Reserve. Okay. Well, the U.S. Federal Reserve was born in 1913, okay? And I'm just going to go real quick into this because this is part of my testimony. And it was created by Congress as a, it's called the Federal Reserve, but it's the entity that prints U.S. money, okay? It's not federal, and it has no reserves, okay? There is no reserves. It's a privately owned entity that prints money for the U.S. government and charges interest on every piece of paper. And since 1971, it's been backed by thin air, by absolutely nothing. And that's a pretty good monopoly. You know, you can just cut down trees and print paper for the biggest GDP in the planet and make interest on every dollar that goes off the printing press, right? So as I began to lose quite a bit of money in my traditional business, I realized that this is not going to go over very well. And I needed to look for extra ways of income, and I've always been doing network marketing. I was doing very well in a network in the travel industry up until 2000, and just at 2008, travel was very sexy, everybody had money, and I was a top executive in a company. And the second that it imploded, everybody's equity was gone. There was no more money traveling. You're not going to get anybody into a travel network when no one has money to travel. So that goes away really quickly. So my personal testimony led me down, like I was telling you guys before, some information of, I thought to myself, how can I find out how money works? What people should be doing with their money? And why they should be accumulating, what it is that they should be accumulating. How do people preserve wealth rather than, when they get it, spend it on things? We spent to oblivion during the boom. I did. And I regret so much how reckless I was with the money that God gave me. Because now I look back and I could have done so much more good with that money than looking on that money today. But you can't look back, you have to look forward. But the mindset, the shift happened for me when I began to study economics. And it fundamentally started with the information as I studied how our monetary system was created. And it was created, obviously, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And gold and silver is money. Anytime the government printed paper notes were just a guarantee. It actually says on the paper notes, this paper note guarantees that such and such amount of silver has been deposited in the treasury, and so when you walk into a bank, you take a piece of paper, and they have to give you these. This was the money. So then I started to realize, wow, if gold and silver is money, maybe I should get some of it. Maybe I should pick some of it up. And that was just my sentiment. And I started to do that about 7 years ago, when silver was right around $7, $10, about $7 an ounce. It was my first couple purchases. I started buying really at around 10. And so there's a marketplace out there for bullion right now, okay? And this is investment grade bullion coins. This is what 40 million of these were sold out of the U.S. Mint last year alone. It was a record-breaking amount of coins that were sold. That's a lot of silver. To put that into perspective, there was just over 700 million ounces of silver mined in the entire world last year. Okay? It took 5% of all the silver mined in the world to make one coin. That's how much supply-demand deviation is going on when you're looking at it from that perspective and that speculative marketplace, which ISN has nothing to do with. Okay? And so that's why I'm just kind of trying to just kind of paint that picture. I decided that I really wanted to start buying. We have to watch the terms that we use because the market that we're in. I decided I was going to start buying these and just accumulate one here, one there, and I had no idea it was going to turn into a total passion of mine. And so ultimately, what silver and gold represent for me is what people died for, was sound money, was the ability to be free and not have people lording it over them and dictating what money is and what money isn't and how they're going to get it and how it's going to work, you know? Because money, like I said, it shouldn't be created out of an edict or something. It should be coming from a marketplace, and that's why you see silver as a preserver of wealth. Like I was telling you before, Ron Paul, he's holding up, you know, this coin, and he's saying, you know, this coin bought 4 gallons of gasoline in 2006. Today it buys 9 gallons of gasoline. But my dollars, it takes 4 times more dollars to buy the same amount. That's a preservation of value. So at the core of our product is historical value that has never gone away, ever. Okay? But we know that all the things that is considered money outside of this end up going back to their intrinsic value, which is nothing, and that's right in our video presentation. Okay? And you know, to illustrate that, back in the war with Germany, 50,000 German marks could retire a man at 50 years old. 3 years later, they're burning 50,000 German marks in the fire because the wood's worth more than the marks. That's absolutely amazing. Oh, but that can't happen in the UK. That can't happen in the United States. It happened in 3 years. Okay? So